Welcome back to Midnight Mysteries, everyone. Prepare yourself for a journey that will take us across continents, from the bustling cities of North America to the remote villages of Africa. No corner of the world is untouched by the chilling presence of the serial killer. Viewer discretion is advised. Our journey begins in the seemingly idyllic landscape of 1970s America, a time of peace and love marred by the emergence of a cunning predator. His name? Theodore Robert Bundy. Ted Bundy was born on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont, at a home for unwed mothers, where he remained for 2 months following his birth. His mother, Eleanor Louise Cowell, faced significant social stigma due to Bundy's illegitimacy, and she considered placing him up for adoption. After his birth, they moved to Philadelphia to live with Louise's parents. Growing up, Bundy was told that his mother was actually his sister to conceal his illegitimate status. This family dynamic likely affected Bundy significantly. Although he reported having an uneventful childhood, accounts reveal he struggled socially and was often considered awkward and isolated by his peers. He was described as shy yet intelligent, doing well academically but failing to connect with classmates. Bundy's early years were marked by troubling behavior. He exhibited an interest in violent themes and began acting out at a young age, often displaying disturbing tendencies, such as violence towards animals. He enjoyed reading tales that featured extreme violence and sexual assault, which may have played a role in shaping his later criminal behavior. His family life became more complicated in 1951 when Louise married Johnny Bundy, after which Bundy faced jealousy and resentment, feeling that his mother's attention was divided due to her other children. Relations with his stepfather were strained, marked by a materialistic attitude from Bundy, who desired things he felt were beyond his family's reach. Additionally, Bundy's struggle with his identity was compounded by the revelation of his illegitimacy during his teenage years, which fueled feelings of humiliation and resentment toward his mother for keeping the truth from him. In his adolescence, he began engaging in criminal behavior, including shoplifting and voyeurism. Overall, Bundy's early life was characterized by a combination of social isolation, confusing family dynamics, and early signs of the violent tendencies that would later culminate in his infamous criminal activities in his adult years. Hidden beneath a charismatic facade and an all-American charm lurked a darkness that would shock the nation. Bundy was the embodiment of pure evil hiding in plain sight. He lured his victims, often young women who resembled a lost love, with a disarming demeanor and carefully crafted ruses. He could be anyone: your neighbor, your friend, the charming stranger you met at a bar. His crimes, as they unraveled, sent shockwaves through the country. Brutal murders, often involving necrophilia and meticulous planning, revealed the depths of his depravity. The nation watched in horror as the body count rose, each victim a testament to Bundy's insatiable bloodlust. But beyond the gruesome details of his crimes lay a chilling truth. Ted Bundy shattered the illusion of safety. He was a reminder that evil could wear a familiar face, that monsters could walk among us undetected, preying on the unsuspecting. Bundy's reign of terror finally ended in 1978, but his capture only marked the beginning of a new chapter in his story. His trial, broadcast nationwide, captivated the nation and cemented his status as a macabre celebrity. People were both horrified and strangely drawn to his charisma, even as he faced the weight of his crimes. He confessed to 30 murders, but the true extent of his carnage remains a haunting mystery. Some speculate the number is far higher, a chilling testament to the darkness that can reside within the human heart. Even in the face of death, Bundy remained a master manipulator, delaying his execution with claims of new information and insights into his psyche. His case forever changed the landscape of criminal profiling. The FBI, forever marked by Bundy's ability to evade capture, developed new techniques to track and apprehend predators like him. His crimes forced law enforcement to confront the chilling reality of the modern serial killer. He remains a chilling reminder of the vulnerability of innocence and the enduring power of evil. From the heart of North America, we journey south to the rugged Andes Mountains of South America, where a different kind of monster stalked the vulnerable. His name, whispered in fear, was Pedro Alonso López, a man whose crimes would earn him the chilling moniker, the Monster of the Andes. López's story is one of unimaginable cruelty and depravity. Abandoned at a young age, he endured a childhood marred by poverty, violence, and abuse, experiences that twisted his psyche and set him on a path of unspeakable evil. He preyed on the most innocent young girls from impoverished communities, luring them with promises of gifts or a better life, only to subject them to unimaginable horrors. His modus operandi was as cold and calculated as it was brutal. He would often strangle his victims, believing it allowed him to look into their eyes as he took their lives. The Andes Mountains, vast and unforgiving, became his hunting ground, their remote villages offering a veil of secrecy for his gruesome deeds. López's crimes went largely unnoticed for years, his victims dismissed as runaways or lost in the sprawling wilderness. But the truth, as it always does, eventually surfaced, revealing a monster far more prolific and terrifying than anyone could have imagined. The full extent of López's reign of terror remained shrouded in uncertainty. He confessed to over 300 murders, a number so staggering it boggles the mind. Authorities piecing together his movements across Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru uncovered mass graves that served as grim testaments to his horrific confessions. His capture in 1980, after being caught attempting to abduct a young girl, sent shockwaves through South America and beyond. The world watched in horror as the details of his crimes emerged, painting a picture of a man consumed by a darkness so profound it defied comprehension. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, López served a mere 18 years in an Ecuadorian prison before being deemed sane and released in 1998. His current whereabouts remain unknown, a chilling reminder that some monsters may never be brought to justice. The Iron Curtain, a barrier of secrecy and control, shrouded the Soviet Union for decades. But even in the darkest corners of this regime, a different kind of darkness lurked. A monster walked among the common men and women, his bloodlust hidden beneath a facade of normalcy. This is the unsettling tale of Andrei Chikatilo, the Butcher of Rostov. Imagine, if you will, the bustling streets of Rostov-on-Don in the 1980s. Life under Soviet rule was harsh, but people held on to hope, unaware that a predator stalked their midst. Andrei Chikatilo, a seemingly unremarkable man, blended into the crowds, his true nature a terrifying secret. He was a teacher, a husband, a father. Yet, beneath this veneer of ordinariness, a storm of depravity raged within. Chikatilo's reign of terror began in 1978. His victims, often young, vulnerable, and easily lured into his grasp, he would often target runaways or children from broken homes, promising them food, shelter, or simply a friendly face. These innocent souls, desperate for kindness in a world that had shown them little, would fall prey to his sinister charm, unaware of the horrific fate that awaited them. The dense forests and isolated areas surrounding Rostov-on-Don became his hunting grounds, the sites where he would unleash the full extent of his depravity. The disappearances, though initially sporadic, began to cast a pall over the region. Whispers of a monster preying on the innocent spread like wildfire, fueling fear and suspicion among the populace. The Soviet authorities, however, were slow to acknowledge the escalating horror. Their response, hampered by bureaucracy and a reluctance to admit such darkness could exist within their borders. Little did they know, they were dealing with a predator more cunning, more ruthless, and more elusive than they could have imagined. Chikatilo was caught in 1992 and sentenced to death. 2 years later, he was executed by firing squad at 57 years old. From the ashes of a fractured nation Still grappling with the wounds of apartheid, emerged a new kind of horror. South Africa, a land of stunning beauty and resilient people, found itself haunted by the spectre of Moses Sithole, the South African Strangler. His crimes, as brutal as they were numerous, reflected not only his own twisted desires, but also the societal scars left by years of oppression and violence. Imagine the sprawling townships of post-apartheid South Africa. Life was a daily struggle for survival, poverty, and unemployment, casting long shadows over the newly freed nation. It was in this environment of desperation and uncertainty that Moses Sithole, a man with a history of violence and deceit, found his hunting ground. He preyed on the most vulnerable members of society, promising them jobs and opportunities, only to lure them into his web of terror. Sithole's modus operandi was as calculated as it was cruel. He would often approach women, posing as a businessman or talent scout, offering them a chance to escape their poverty. These women, desperate for a better future for themselves and their families, would readily accept his offers, unaware that they were walking into a nightmare. He would gain their trust, often corresponding with them through letters and phone calls, further solidifying their belief in his false promises. Then, he would strike. Luring his victims to secluded areas, Sithole would unleash his brutality, subjecting them to unimaginable horrors before taking their lives. His reign of terror spanned multiple provinces, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives and a nation gripped by fear. He was caught in 1995 and sentenced to life in prison. Asia, a vast continent teeming with life, history, and unfortunately, darkness. From the bustling streets of Tokyo to the remote villages of China, evil can lurk in the shadows, preying on the unsuspecting. And in the annals of criminal history, few names inspire as much fear and revulsion as Yang Xinhai. Yang Xinhai, known as the Monster Killer, terrorized China's Henan, Shandong, and Anhui provinces from 1999 to 2003. His reign of terror left a trail of blood and shattered lives, a stark reminder that even in the most populous of nations, darkness can find its victims in the dead of night. A small village sleeps, unaware of the figure lurking in the shadows. Yang Xinhai, armed with crude weapons, would enter homes, farms, and even schools, leaving a trail of carnage in his wake. His motives, shrouded in mystery, seemed to stem from a deep-seated rage and a complete disregard for human life. His crimes, often committed with brutal efficiency, sent shockwaves through the country. The Chinese authorities launched a massive manhunt, desperate to bring this monster to justice. But Yang Xinhai, a phantom in the night, always seemed to be one step ahead, leaving fear and uncertainty in his wake. Yang Xinhai's modus operandi was chilling and effective. He targeted entire families, killing them in their sleep. The brutality and randomness created a climate of fear throughout China. Authorities pieced together a psychological profile of Yang Xinhai. He was a loner, a drifter moving from town to town. Finally, in November 2003, Yang Xinhai was apprehended. He confessed to 67 murders. He was executed in 2004 at the age of 35. From the sprawling cities of Asia, we journey south to the sun-drenched land of Australia. A country known for its rugged beauty, its laid-back lifestyle, and its welcoming people. But even in this paradise, darkness can take root, as evidenced by the chilling case of Ivan Milat, the backpacker murderer. In the early 1990s, a string of disappearances rocked Australia. Young backpackers, eager to explore this vast and beautiful country, were vanishing without a trace. Their families, thousands of miles away, clung to hope, but as weeks turned into months, a terrifying truth began to emerge. The Belanglo State Forest, a seemingly idyllic expanse of eucalyptus trees and winding dirt roads, became synonymous with horror as the bodies of 7 young backpackers were discovered, buried in shallow graves. Each victim had been meticulously positioned, their hands bound, their bodies bearing the marks of unspeakable cruelty. The nation watched in horror as the details of the murders unfolded. The victims, hailing from Germany, Britain, and Australia, had been traveling the country, experiencing its wonders, when their paths crossed with that of a monster. The hunt was on for the killer who had so callously stolen their lives. Even Milat, a road worker with a history of petty crime and violence, emerged as the prime suspect. He preyed on unsuspecting travelers, offering rides, pretending to be a friendly local. Once he gained their trust, he drove them deep into the Belanglo State Forest. The backpacker murders sent shockwaves through Australia and beyond. Despite overwhelming evidence, Milat maintained his innocence. Sentenced to life without parole, he died in 2019 at the age of 74 while serving his sentence. The Belanglo State Forest became a haunting reminder of the darkness that can reside in the human psyche. From the Americas to Asia, from Europe to the Australian outback, we've explored the darkest corners of the globe, uncovering the stories of notorious serial killers. Thank you for watching, and stay safe.